You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Mo, and today I'm going to introduce you to a guest by the name of Marianne Stansel. Marianne is a highly experienced and compassionate, multidimensional, multiracial nurse intuitive energy practitioner, spiritual guide, and the founder of Ignited Soul. With a deep commitment to healing and transformation, Marianne holds sacred space for individuals and groups, supporting them in their journey to heal their hearts, release emotions and energy, and embrace freedom, happiness, and alignment in their lives. Through her healing sessions and insightful messages, Marianne empowers and guides others to reclaim their power, find their voice, and connect with their hearts and intuition. With a foundation rooted in love, she believes that everyone possesses the innate ability to heal and become their own healer. Marianne's work encompasses a diverse range of energy healing modalities, including hands-on healing, Reiki, sacred space holding, soul connections, energetic release work, support for medical illnesses, shifting thought processes, soul-searching journeys, physical body healing, medicine weaving, vibrational energy work, Mother Earth energy, working with plants and elements, active breathwork facilitation, sound healing, light language, intuitive messages, and heart-centered hypnotherapy. In her practice, Marianne pays deep respect and honor to the lineages, land, ancestors, spirits, Mother Earth, energy, and medicinal plants from which she has learned, received guidance, and found support. She acknowledges the ongoing evolution and growth in her journey, always welcoming new insights and opportunities for expansion. Marianne invites individuals to embark on a profound healing journey with her, where they can reconnect with their true selves, access their inner wisdom, and experience the transformative power of love and energetic healing. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm having Marianne on the podcast. Well, number one, I want to bring people on to this platform who have different perspectives and experiences with life in an effort to expand all of you who are listening, to expand your mind and expand what you may see as options and opportunities for yourself. Number two, Marianne's experience as a nurse and an energy healer is fascinating and really shows how much we still need to incorporate into Western medicine as ways to empower ourselves to heal. And third, I believe in Marianne's work, in her pure intentions and in her integrity, and I want you to experience her. So that's one of the main reasons I'm bringing her on. Is over the last few months, as I've gotten to know Marianne, I'm very big on feeling into someone's energy and being able to discern if this feels like someone that I can trust and that I feel safe with. And that is very much how I choose the people that I decide to have come to my retreats, or that I have speak on my podcast, or that I experience healing with. And as soon as I met Marianne, I knew that she was someone that I wanted to expose my audience to. So in this episode, we talk about her experience as a nurse and why she was led to be of service in the first place, and how she moved into energy healing and decided to leave nursing and do this full time. All the different modalities that she uses as an energy healer to help you release. It's just amazing. And then third, we talk about her Ascend retreat. So she has a retreat coming up at the end of August that I think you should all absolutely consider to attend. If you listen to this episode and you feel pulled by Marianne's energy, I highly recommend you check out her retreat. It is in Washington State. You can come if you're local or if you're outside of Washington State. But I highly recommend signing up if you're looking for a shift in your life and you're not sure exactly what that is. And even if you have never experienced energy healing before, I fully trust that you would have an amazing experience with Marianne. So check out her website. I'll put it in the show notes, and I can't wait for you to hear this episode. You're in for a real treat. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm really excited today to introduce you to Marianne Stansel, who I've been getting to know over just the last couple of months. And I'm really excited for you all to learn about Marianne's journey and hear more about her work as an energy healer and all the different things that she offers as a practitioner, and about a really special event and retreat that she has coming up. So thank you so much for joining me, Marianne.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
There are so many different places we could jump into with your experience and your journey, but I want to start a little bit about what led you into being a nurse first and foremost, because when I learned about this part of your background, I was so excited because your knowledge is so deep. And I love when energy healers and people who are moving outside of Western medicine can combine their knowledge. There's just such depth to that. So I wonder if you could start a little bit with what led you to want to become a nurse, a little bit
Yeah,
of that part of your journey.
ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to help people. It started off with animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but that didn't pan out because I didn't get into the particular school I wanted to get into. And I was taking all these like science courses still, trying to figure out, life. And then I went into psychology. So I've always been in this realm of like fascination around us as beings and in that way of like wanting to help. Like I thought maybe I'll like travel somewhere and do like a mission and just really help people in need. Like I remember thinking of like going to Africa or something like that.
Hmm.
And then I was in working at nonprofits, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, helping them with their events, and then in human resources and recruiting. So it's always been in a place of helping people, but I was really desiring to actually be in people's physical presence because we were doing a lot of online interactions with clients or phone calls. And so I had a few friends, or I still have those friends who are nurses. And so I was talking to one of them who's a really good friend of mine. And I just was like asking her more about what she does. And she was like, hey, why don't you find someone that you can shadow? And so I did. And I just like really loved what I saw and what I experienced. And I think it just was something that I was like, I want to do this. I want to go back to school after like being out of school for a certain amount of time. So yeah, it just sort of all naturally progressed into wanting to be in that profession. I think, I also toyed with, while being a nurse, going back to school to be a nurse practitioner, but I just found like the timing wasn't right. So I think I've always had this desire just to innately be in people's presence to really help them and support them.
And how long were you in nursing for?
I would say, has it been like 10 and a half years, roughly 11 years? I
Wow.
started off as a nursing assistant and then after school, then, you know, became into the nursing role. So I've been at the same place where I was a nursing assistant into being a nurse. So I've seen that organization even shift itself. And I've been with a lot of the same people for my entire career. So, and then now it's so interesting now that I've, left the hospital setting. I'm still at a clinic, but that's mainly really part-time work. We call it per diem work. So you kind of pick up as needed. Um, but at the hospital, it's interesting. When I started to leave, people were starting to leave. And then I heard that more people left after I left. So I think it was the right time. I was thinking about doing this for quite some time. And I've gone back and forth with being a full-time employee to being a per diem employee at the hospital. But then I think it was just the right time to open up to something else in the world. And, in this whole time, I was, maybe since the pandemic, also providing energy healing as well. So it's a lot. Sometimes I felt like I was in two places, like almost like splitting my personality into two, because you definitely have to put a different hat on when you're in the nursing world, especially in the hospital, versus when you're out in the public providing that soothing energy healing experience for someone. It's it can be similar, but they're very different in the flow and the methodology that you're using too. So,
What do you think are some of the biggest things that you learned when you were a nurse? Because
oh
I love that you knew you wanted to be in people's presence. Like you already
yeah,
knew that you wanted to be in their energy. But what are some of the things that stuck out to you from your time?
I think when I um, went back to school to be a nurse, it was a time where I was in a relationship where I completely lost myself, like lost who I was and lost um even my own power. So being a nurse, I think, gained all of that back. So it's every time I think about that whole experience, I get emotional because it was like a time in my life where I actually called my whole being back in a physical sense. The energy sense, I did a lot of work in that area, but I think that was like me as a person in this human experience. I was like, I'm calling myself back. I'm calling back my power. I'm standing my power. So nursing really gave me that opportunity to be more confident, learn about boundaries, learn about how to work with different people.
Oh,
In
yeah.
college, I lived with like over 200 people. So I always enjoy being around people and like meeting them and stuff. But this is where like I had to stand up for myself, because sometimes you would get people yelling at you, and
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
lot to take in. Like you're working with people for 12 hours a day. In our everyday life, when we're in conflict, we have the option of opting out of that conflict or walking away or avoiding, right? But
Yes.
at the hospital and at clinics, you don't have that option because it's your obligation
Mm-hmm.
to be in service to that person, regardless. And so, I mean, there are opportunities where if it was pretty bad, like I do have that option of getting additional support or asking to be switched off from an assignment of working with someone. But yeah, I was setting good boundaries, vocalizing, and also learning how to work with different personality types.
Mm-hmm.
I really always put myself in that position of supporting the patient. So if I found that there was something else that could be done for them, um, I would voice that to like the medical team and to the rest of the people working for that patient, because and okay, let me go back to, I'm going off on a tangent.
That's okay.
So okay, boundaries, I learned how to work with people, different styles. I learned about communication, how to, like the need for having well-rounded communication and the importance of, giving certain facts and stuff. I learned that I can stand in my power, to have that self-confidence. And then I also learned about letting go, because at the end of the day, you can only do so much. And sometimes when you're working, you want to do it all, and
Mm-hmm.
you try to. And sometimes it's like, okay, it's not going to happen. So you let it go, knowing that someone else is coming on that's going to take on the few things that you weren't able to do. I feel like those are the big ones. I mean, there's a lot that I really learned from it. But in the beginning, I think that was, in the beginning, I didn't really have a voice. So I was coming from a place where I didn't have a voice. So it
Yeah.
was challenging at times, but a big learning experience for myself to exercise the voice and strength that I have within. And
Mm-hmm.
so over time, it's always been stronger and stronger. And you have to be, because you can be taken advantage of in that role. And especially just with all how emotions can play into how people are feeling. And when you're
Mm-hmm.
sick, you don't act the same way that you would act when you're not sick.
No.
And so it also gave me, oh, that's another thing. It also gave me a lot of different perspectives and a huge amount of compassion too. So even though it would be hard when someone would be yelling at me, and I would set those boundaries and also let them know, what's happening. I also understood on the flip side of why they are so upset.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard because you're in this service type of role, but at the same time, I think a lot of people on the outside don't really understand the things that we do as a nurse. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, we all have our own tunnel vision, thinking, okay, the doctor's always here on the floor, and this is my own nurse. I don't have, my nurse doesn't work with any other patients and stuff. And so it's hard when they're like wanting to talk to the doctor, but the doctor also has like 20 patients of their own, and they're throughout the hospital. They're not just on the floor that I'm on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think I saw, now if I was a patient, I'd have a different perspective of the workings of everything, but no one would really know that unless they actually worked at a hospital setting. So
Yeah. It's huge. I think a lot of what you just mentioned, especially about the communication and standing up for yourself and setting boundaries, it makes me think a lot about what people talk about in the spiritual community around embodying the work that you do. So I think that's part of what I feel drawn to about you is that when I know that when you are in service and you work with a lot of the public, which I've done myself as well, you kind of learn what it means to embody healing. Like it's one thing to talk about learning how to communicate with people. It's another to actually practice doing it, and to have someone yelling at you as you are in the process of trying to help them is really an experience that unless you've been in service, you don't really know what it's like. So I love that about your history and what you learned while you were in the hospital. It's so powerful and such amazing work that nurses do.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you're to think about you're with someone for the majority of their day, that
Mm-hmm.
12 hours. I mean, actually they have someone for 24 hours, but um during the day shift is when you see a lot of the activity. Night shift you can see that too, but during the day it's, some of these people, they don't have anyone else, and you're like that sole person in their life. Um
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and it's hard. Sometimes you see people um really progressing, and sometimes people have a hard time progressing because they don't want, for whatever, it's their own journey, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not ready to make changes in their lives. So that's also hard to see too, because we're giving
Mm-hmm.
them that opportunity in a way. But
Mm-hmm. So, what kind of sparked your interest in energy healing? At what point in your journey did you start to kind of dive more into that part of your work?
I think I've always been really fascinated and interested. Ever since I was little, I always believed in this alternate reality and alternate worlds, and believed in spirits and healing. Anytime that I would be sick, I would always pray with my mom. I remember, like, she would do that for me, and the next day I would feel better. And then so I just would always ask her, oh, please, when I'm sick, because I would get sick a lot when I was little, and I would always feel better the next day. And I just remember even playing around with, like, just, praying and imagining something healing for someone too. And so I think I always carried that with me, and the intention of, even when I was a nurse, to just have that really intention of, okay, this is going to be like actually healing them. And I think when I was more in that self healing phase of my life, really exploring different modalities, because I did a lot of therapy. I was figuring out that therapy wasn't for me. It was getting me too stuck in my head, and I was repeating stories over and over again. And I think for me, I really wanted something else. And I also want to preface, like, this is just like my personal journey. I know that therapy helps a lot of people, but for me, I was desiring something more than just that. And so that's when I explored other people to help me. And it was the best decision, because they actually helped me to break down certain structures in my life, and helped me to actually own some of my wisdom within me. One woman in particular, her name's Vanessa. She used to own the Madrona Apothecary in Seattle. And I loved how she worked with me, because she would always ask me, well, what do you think? Because I would always ask her, oh, what do you think about this? She's like, well, what do you think? What's coming up? And I was like, wow, that's such a cool experience, because that actually, like, gave me, at a time where I was always leaning on people, it gave me a time to be like, oh, this is actually what's coming up for me. And she also helped me to see, like, there was no right and wrong. There are, the quote unquote, like, bad spirits, they're lost and they need some people to help them. And there are people out there that help those particular spirits. And she gave me a different way of looking at it, because I think I came from a religious background of everything being black and white. So she was one person. And then also another individual in the spiritual world, Wendy Leva, she's been with me for quite some time, and she's really helped me as well to explore my shadows, and also learn more about the healing within, and really help me to also break down like the whole black and white structures, and to listen to the voice within myself. So I've really appreciated them both, because I think they've been really pivotal in my life. And I think with them, it just helped me to explore more, tap into the spiritual community. And that's where like one individual was like, oh, I took this class, it was a Reiki class and it was amazing, and she talked about her experience, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is like what I needed, because I was sort of exploring the world of healing within my own realm. And I'm someone who also enjoys some structure, and so taking that class just really opened everything up for me. I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was around like, I can't remember what year it was. But that was when I just, was attuned to Reiki. I wasn't quite ready yet to sit with people and offer it. Because I was still in the process of building parts of my confidence within me, and trying to figure out like, well, how is this going to all work and stuff. But I wouldn't say there was like one point where I was like, like an aha moment. I think it was more every little bit of piece of my life just really led me into this way that I'm doing right now, because I also dived into the world of like health coaching and stuff. So I think everything was just building up to allow for me to do what I'm doing right now.
That's so cool. Did you find that as you were beginning to learn about Reiki and learn about different modalities, that it changed how you were in the hospital slowly, gradually?
Yeah. I think the Reiki gave me, the class that I took, it gave me some structure. I think it gave me a better understanding of like what I was tapping into before. Because I think the community I had before was, the religious Christianity community. And they, at least from my personal background, it's like from the Korean side. So they see things differently. And so I didn't really have a lot of other people to reach out to like explore it with, versus the two individuals that were helping me, which was nice. But it gave me more intention when I worked with clients. And then I was exploring meditation, and so it also gave me tools and to help clients like find that relaxation and peace while they're getting poked, or gave me a sense of different ways to talk to them. And, some people I've had really great conversations with, because they were also tapping into that world. And I think a lot of cancer patients innately do, because they're looking for any and all options to help them. I think there's a lot of ways that this can be incorporated into the Western world, because as physical bodies, it's easier for us to understand the physical sense, because we can like see and touch it. But there's a lot of studies out there that show all sorts of emotions are locked into the cells, and even like the neurotransmitters, like the dopamine, serotonin, those innately have us feel certain emotions, right? So there's a lot out there that, we have different parts of our being, and it's not just the physical part that we see. And I think a lot of times people can get dependent on different Western modalities of healing, and then they're not losing, but there's to have like a full, well-rounded healing experience. We all need to explore it in our own ways, but I think there's a lot of other modalities that can be added onto it. I mean, there's a whole, just if we just talk about meditation itself, there's so many studies out there about how meditation really helps someone to enhance their healing abilities when they
Mm-hmm.
are sick or when they're going through something or when they're in different mental states that are hard to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it changes the way that our brain functions. It lights up different parts of our brain.
Yeah.
Um, and it enhances our ability to react to things in a better way that's more supportive. It enhances our memory. So there's a lot more that's out there, but it's really hard. I remember one time I tried to, when I was getting in, um, when I was like, okay, I think I want to try and like bring some of this into the hospital setting. I had reached out to a department to see if I can offer some sound healing, but it didn't really go anywhere. And so it's a bit hard to tap into that. But you can do that in the end of life
Mm.
areas of the medical world, because they always are welcoming to people who work in energy to support them in that way. And there are certain places in the world that have already started to open up to allow for different healers to come in.
Okay.
So I guess it just all depends on
Yeah.
the
You kind of
situation.
answered part of my question, but I want to ask you if there's anything specific. I was going to ask you what have you noticed is missing from the hospitals, but do you think what's one or two things that you wish could be incorporated on a regular basis? Would that be sound healing or meditation, or is there something else that you feel like would kind of be like the next step for adding to a more holistic picture?
I think offering holistic methodologies to healing. Even the hospital I worked at, we were offering some scent therapies like lavender and things like that, but it's kind of
Okay.
hard when you're sharing a room and some people are quite sensitive. But I think allowing for naturopathic doctors to actually be working in the hospital setting. What
Hmm.
I loved about my personal doctor that I've seen over 10 years for a really long time is, although she's trained in the Western world, she's fully accepted of other methods of healing too. So that's why I love seeing her, because it's not just one straight line. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of times um, people are reliant on, give me the pills to fix me. But if we think about what certain medications do, they're really just covering it up. They're blocking certain receptors,
Hmm.
when we can actually change that with our mind.
Hmm.
Or they're covering up the true issue at hand. And if you dig a little bit deeper, sometimes there's a lot of emotions that we've been holding on to that end up developing into certain things that we're experiencing. And I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but I see it as a whole sense of a lot of the emotions or certain experiences that we've experienced throughout our life can create certain physical sensations or physical things. So, yeah, I think the answer would just be like offering alternative methods in clinics and hospitals, so that people can experience ways that
Hmm.
they can also self heal without being so reliant
Hmm.
on someone else giving them the information, or reliant on, certain medications too.
Hmm. I love that. I think that would expose a lot of people who just have zero awareness around other options. I love it when people can just be aware of how many different options there are for
Yeah.
healing yourself, like you said, empowering yourself and understanding your power is such a huge part of that. So that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Um,
And I love, Joe Dispenza's work, because he like really talks about how
mhm.
we can change lots of parts of ourselves by changing our mind. and
Yes.
and also there's like a ton of studies about people taking like pseudo
Yes.
pills, or like pretending like they somehow like thought that they got surgery and their knee was fully better when they never got
Yes.
surgery done. I mean, so there's like a lot more to it.
Yes.
That I wish we can just like bring into the hospital setting, because literally if you're sensitive to energy, whenever you walk into a hospital, you can immediately feel just a heavy
Yeah.
weight. And I cannot tell you, even like there's certain rooms on my hospital floor, whenever someone would be in that room, it would be like extreme chaos because that energy is so locked in there from every single
Wow.
patient that's been in there that it hasn't left. And so if we did even just like even clearing of certain rooms,
Oh my
I bet
gosh.
people would
Yes.
have like better experiences overall. I mean, there are people, even certain patients that are like, they could see lingering like spirits there too. I mean, a lot has happened in the hospital setting itself,
Mm-hmm.
especially if that hospital's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh my gosh, what a brilliant idea. I've never even thought of that, of just sending in some healers to clear the energy once a month
yeah,
or once a week, and
yeah,
how amazing that would be.
I know.
Oh my God. So I have to say that I know some of my audience is semi familiar with energy healing because I talk about it a little bit, but I know some people have never experienced it. And so I'm wondering if you could describe what's your definition or description of what an energy healing is or can be and what it kind of
Yeah.
does for your body.
So there's a few analogies. I guess one is like it's almost like someone being that flashlight for you in the darkness and like helping you pave the way. I think a lot of times people seek people within the energy world because they either want clarity on something, they want to release something, and or they have pain and they're wanting to release that pain, or they're wanting to get in touch with their loved ones. So it's almost like you're that guide for them. And in that sense, you are helping them to circulate healed energy in the sense that as they're in this process of being in this state of relaxation and peace, they're shutting off their analytical brain. At least I hope that that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of us has our own processes and stuff like that, incorporating different, techniques and stuff. But in that process of shutting down the analytical brain, they're actually able to tap into their body. And with that, it's that energy is, it flows differently in our body when we can sense that. And so the energy healing is just helping to break up maybe certain areas that are holding on to energy. And that energy is really emotions. Like
Mm-hmm.
emotions is energy and movement. And so sometimes when we say that, for example, someone experiences like a bad breakup and they're still holding on to that pain, and even though they've gone through some therapies and they've done their own healing, they still have this lingering heart pain and they think it's something to do with the present moment. But when you go and explore that, it could be aligned with that particular breakup. And so it's allowing for them to release that out, to that
Mm-hmm.
for that expression to happen. So it's cycling that energy out and reinfusing this really loving and healing energy. I mean, I'm I'm trying to think of a great way to explain it in terms that people can understand, but I guess it's that whole allowing for you to tap into the frequency that helps you to hear and see things differently. I know we all
Mm-hmm.
don't have like radio tuners anymore, or
But I love
but
that visual.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
helping someone to tune to their personal frequency, because we're all running
Mm-hmm.
on different frequencies right now. We're trying to run on so and so's frequency because we see so and so doing like a successful like business launch, and we're like, I want that, so I'm going to do like everything that that person's doing. Well, you're running on their frequency, you're not running on your own frequency. So it's
Yeah.
when you come and receive energy healing, you're then tuning back into your personal vibrational frequency, like that radio tuner, finding that
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, so that every day when you're going through life, hopefully you're able to gain the tools so that you can constantly tune up and down depending on, what's happening. So you can always come back to your true sense of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of like healing different parts of your body, that really happens by you believing in it. I oftentimes share the story about my mom, which she probably wouldn't like for me to really share it. She's like, can be private, but I think it's a great story. um, and is that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Like maybe, oh, like 14 years ago or so. And she was starting to get like radiation or chemo, but she couldn't really afford it. And so her and my stepdad went into this Korean prayer retreat. And I can't remember how long they stayed there for, but they were just like trying alternative methods. And she came back, and the doctors were just so shocked because they were like, well, how did you do this? There's no way that you could have healed yourself. They couldn't find any cancer. So
Wow.
that's why I share that story to just show how when you truly believe that you can heal, and it's, doing it consistently, because a lot of times we get a lot of things that happen in our lives. And hers is always that like one story, right, that we hear of people able to like heal and get that second chance of living again. But it is possible, and I think that's what energy healing does. So
Oh yeah. You reminded me of, the more that I've gotten into this work, the more stories that I've heard. There's another woman who had lymphoma. It's a similar type of lymphoma that my mom actually has. And she did a Joe Dispenza's meditation 3 times a day for, I think it was 4 weeks. And the next time she went back to the doctor, she was completely clear. And she had just been envisioning him coming into the room saying, I can't see anything on the scan.
Exactly.
And I love the more and more evidence that gathers. And just like you said, it's the belief and the visualization and the consistency of setting aside all these things that happen throughout our day to distract us and pull us back into whatever things might be happening in our lives, whatever the chaos is.
Yeah. And I guess that's what the energy healing does, is kind of acts as your guide. We're not doing the healing work. I always tell the person, like, you're doing this. I'm just opening up that channel, that portal for you to experience it. And like what you said, it's the practice that we do. I mean, there's different studies to even show what emotions within us will emit a certain type of heat or energy within our bodies. And then I think within Joe Dispenza's work, he's done quite a few studies around, people doing his type of meditations and breathing styles, and the before and after of their like energy. And also there's a few studies to show like before and after of receiving energy healing, how someone's energy that they're emitting, like they probably do it by like the heat that they can sense off of certain machines, is like fractal. There's like spots missing, but then after like going through like a soothing meditation or receiving hands-on healing, Reiki, healing touch, or any type of like healing modality, their energy is like whole and more vibrant.
Wow.
And your sense of being is like elevated. I guess as I always think about, like, whenever you're out on that sunny day and you're just smiling, having the best time of your life, like if you can take that energy with you every single minute of your day, like that would change your whole entire life. And even
Yes.
for myself, like I try and do practices too, because I know how beneficial it is. And I feel like the opening to someone to heal themselves is the act of some type of present moment practice in meditation. And a lot of us don't have the time to sit for like an hour and do that. So at least it's starting baby steps to make it more of something that we want to utilize in our daily practice. And then sometimes, we do have that where we can spend that hour long time. But there's so many ways. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people who do yoga really enjoy that, because they are getting a lot of benefits from being in that present moment state. And the movement in that, or like the breath work that adds in movement and stuff, that allows for people to express the emotions out in a way to help your body to release that emotion. And and I think the mind is a big thing, because we can see things one way and then someone else gives us a whole different perspective and we're like, oh yeah, that's great. Like I know you have helped me to like have different perspectives and stuff, and so it's so nice. And I've also like gone to, I remember like this networking thing and we were like working on our taglines or something like that, and I was like talking about, the world of how I would talk about it, and then I realized, oh yeah, I'm talking about it as if I'm assuming everyone understands what energy healing is, because they're like,
Mhm.
wait, would someone really know what energy healing is? What if you called it that it was under the world of like holistic wellness or wellness? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So it's nice getting different perspectives, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, the mind can have a huge factor, and to quiet down the mind, I think, is
Mhm.
a big life practice, even for
Oh,
myself.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you just led me directly into my next question, which was when you made the leap that you did to leave what you were doing in the nursing world and really start this business full time. How did you do that? How did you, what gave you the courage to say, this is my work. This is what I want to do next?
Um, so I think over the years, I was just recognizing it took a lot for me to like switch my hats and stuff, because
Hmm.
after working at the hospital, I almost needed a day of recuperating just to
Oh,
like
yeah.
reset my entire energetic system to really fully be able to like work with people in the energy healing world.
Hmm.
And I noticed that every time I was in the energy healing world, I was just, my mood was different. I like loved it. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't feeling as heavy. And when I went to an event where I um, had the chance to see you again and hear about your story, and hearing about you making your own leap when you did, I just felt so inspired. I just was like, my whole body was like, yeah, this is like you got to do it. You got to do it. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make this all work. Um, but I just was like, I'm going to do this. It was
Hmm.
a really hard decision, I have to say. I
Hmm.
like cried too, because it was um, like ending a full chapter of a part of myself, the evolution of me.
Hmm.
And um, and it was almost like breaking up with a part of myself, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a security net too, because I knew, oh yeah, they're so nice, I could go in anytime I want and stuff. But I just knew like my heart wasn't in it as much as it used to be.
Hmm.
And I just wanted the energies and play that are of loving light to just know like this is like really what I want to do, and I'm hearing the message. And
Hmm.
yeah, so
I
yeah,
love how you
I want to say
described
thank you.
like that feeling that I try to share with people of just you recognizing how you felt in one environment versus how you felt in another environment and choosing to feel better, choosing to feel uh, like your body was responding, that it really loved being around the energy healing, really loved doing that work. And then you just followed that feeling. I think people get so stuck sometimes in the logic of it, which that was totally me as well, is, how much money do I need to have before I really start my business? It doesn't seem to make logical sense to do it with only a month worth of money in my bank account. But it's not
Mhm.
logical. It's not logical. It's in the body, like you keep saying, keep going back to, uh, that we're all a frequency, a vibration. And when you feel good in that, to recognize the difference is really such a big piece of it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I want to say thank you. I think it just like hearing you talk just helped me to take that, extra leap. And I'm still working at a clinic, but that's just like minimal time
Hmm.
there, I think. But I am fully like invested in opening up the energy healing world full time. And it's funny, like I posted something on social media about how I left nursing, and a lot of people didn't know that I was a nurse, just because I like struggled with saying I'm a nurse too, because once I say that, people focus on that heavily and they
Hmm.
forget that I'm
Hmm.
also an energy healer.
Hmm.
So I had to, maybe there was a way to combine the two, but I always felt like whenever I brought up even the word nurse, people would immediately like they're tunneled right into that area.
Yes.
So I had to separate it. But yeah, it was a lot to do both. But I think I also learned a lot too. So, um, yeah, I'm there could have been many different pathways that I could have taken all this, but this
Hmm.
is the pathway that I chose to take, and so far
Hmm.
I'm happy about that.
Yay. Could you share a little bit more about what you do and what you offer? Because I do think it's important to share all the different pieces of what you do. And like you said, I've experienced the same thing too, where sometimes people can get stuck on, oh, well, we want to put people into these categories because then it's easy to remember. But really, you're multidimensional and have so many different aspects to what you do.
Yeah, so I work with people in different ways, and I would say since the pandemic, it's evolved too. I have group sessions with people that are focused on either women's circles or meditation circles, community circles, and where I'll infuse different teachings for them, sound healings, breath work, sittings with the spirit of cacao. Um, as far as one-on-one sessions go, I have an energy healing session, and that is really up to what the patient, or not the patient, the client is wanting. My brain is like going back and forth, what the client is wanting. So that can mean maybe they want some release work, or maybe they want some interconnection, clarity, feeling more aligned, or freedom. And so that's where I incorporate hands-on healing. I've gone away from using the word Reiki because I have always believed that everyone has the capabilities of providing energy healing. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of tapping into that and activating that within you. So yes, I'll do the hands-on healing, give them intuitive messages, or meditation services, provide them breath work, sound healing journeys, and even mentor people who are new or seasoned to the business, or the world of energy healing, to provide them certain support as they are continuing to evolve and grow themselves.
Love it. So for someone who's listening, how would they know, oh, I should sign up for a session with Marianne? Because they might just feel pulled to you and drawn to you, which is what I always tell people. Hey, if you feel pulled to someone, that is usually enough of a sign for me to say, I'm going to sign up for a session with Marianne. But what are some of the things that maybe people might come to you with that you could help them with when you talk about releasing and
Yeah, so I help them, I guess, in a sense of breaking free from any energetic ties or bonds that they feel.
okay.
It's less about, the memory is going to be there, but the energetic tie to whatever had occur. Once you free yourself from that, you're calling your power back. So I do a lot of calling people's power back. I also help them to search for parts of them that they've feel like they've left in certain parts of their lives.
Mm.
I also just generally vibrationally can increase how they're feeling in a session where they're like, I've had a lot of stuff going on and I just want to feel some peace. So I give them that too. I also give them insights. So if they're wanting some clarity, if they're like, I don't know what to do, I want some clarity. If they've gone through a breakup and they want to find some peace in that way. What else? I've had people come where they've wanted to connect with their loved ones. So it's through this, I always have my sessions, the energy healing ones, taking them through like an intuitive meditation. So they're sent into their special portal, and within that portal is where they get certain contacts or messages or insights and healing happening. Or if it's someone who wants to practice this too, or if they have like physical pain, I've had people come to me for physical pain.
Okay.
And if they're just feeling like, a lot of times people say like, I feel stuck, or I feel like something's
Hmm.
blocking me, or if they're really wanting to feel good. So yeah, I think it's if they're wanting to feel more aligned and freedom within their lives, that's something that I can help them with. And if they're wanting to feel joy too. And
Mm.
so I guess with that, I always try and end every session with teaching them something, because
Mm.
it would be nice. It's always nice having people come back. And if I always tell them, if it's a lot of things that they want to see me for, definitely they should come and see me again, or if it's a greater, like a bigger thing that they're needing help with, then yes. Because a lot of times, the first time you see me, it's more of us getting used to each other's energy and being able to co-create together and co-heal. Co-heal in a sense that we're creating this portal together and whatnot. But sometimes it takes at least like up to 3 sessions for someone to be like, okay, I fully feel better. Because the first one could be like, you feel that, because I've had people have that full release, be able to disconnect and have that energetic bond be broken, but something can come up and you could re-feel that, and so that's why at the end of every session, I always make sure to give people teachings that they can take with them so that they could practice this themselves. Because at the end of the day, I would rather have them be their own healer. Obviously, I'm here to support them, but to have someone be with me for years and years on end, I would love, that's always nice too. But at the same time, I know that they can do that themselves. But I do have people like come and see me like quarterly or half the year to be like, I need like a boost, or I need some support. And that is perfectly fine as well.
That makes total sense. What do you wish more people knew about you and what you do?
I don't know. I try and be such an open book. So it's kind of hard answering this question. I think the number one thing is everything I do, I try and lead with my heart and unconditional love. I also try and lead with the fact that this is an open space, that there are no expectations and there are no judgments, because I think that's really important for someone to experience what they're wanting to experience. And through my own personal experiences, I've found that having no expectations on my own experience and coming from a place of no judgment, it allows for someone to show up as they truly are. And that's when a lot of shifts can happen, when that does happen. So I try and hold that space in that way and allow for them to express in however they want to express, and let them know that all emotions are okay. Because I've also experienced things where it took me a while to actually be able to like scream in a session and have it be okay, or like do certain things like that.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm like, I want people to feel safe and to know that whatever happens, that it's okay, and that being angry is okay. It's a process that we just need to allow for this emotion to be released from our body, to find that freedom. Yeah, I would say maybe those are the things, but I'd also have to think about that question too.
I love it. Well, I also want to make sure that we talk for a minute about the retreat that you have coming up. I'm so excited that you decided to create this. And I've talked to several people on my podcast about retreats that they do. And so you have to know that you've got guts to put on a retreat, because the amount of planning it takes, and then really the courage to put it out there and host is not an easy feat. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you envisioned this, and some of the details, so that any of the listeners who are interested can look into signing up for it.
Yeah, so it's a transformational retreat in August. It's going to be in Washington State, from August 30th to September 3rd. And it's a place where people can come and really receive the healing that they're desiring. That can mean finding that peace, finding that realignment, finding that clarity. Really, it's a bit open-ended, but I think the main mission is to provide you the support that you need to be able to go through the processes and that journey that you're wanting in the time that we're there together. So I'll be there supporting people and offering services and some workshops. And also, I've invited a few practitioners and guides to be there as well, so that they can also share their works. And every day is a specific theme. I almost see it like when I say transformation, I see it more like an experience of becoming like a butterfly. So, butterflies have different stages of life
Yes.
before they actually become a butterfly. So at the end, I hope that like people feel just really different. Different in a way where they're like, wow, I didn't realize life could be like this, where you end up hearing things or seeing things differently, thinking things differently, and then your life will just shift before you know it. So that's my hope. And there's like a lot of support before, during, and even after, because I think it's really important to
Hmm.
have that after support too. Um, but that's it in a nutshell of what someone can experience. And we'll be in a place that's like outside of Seattle so that you can be away from the hustle and bustle and really get more grounded into your inner self.
I love that. So to find out about how to sign up and more details, they just go to your website?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They can go to theignitedsoul.com ascend dot or
Okay.
dash retreat and get all the information about it.
Okay, cool. So for anybody that's listening, even if you have never done energy healing before, I want you to go check out the website if you feel pulled to Marianne, because I can tell you from my experience of being in your presence when you've led meditations and the different things that you do, it is absolutely, it feels so beautiful. It feels so good. So if you're someone that's looking for a change, but you're not sure what it is, I would actually encourage you to sign up for this retreat as an experience that could shift, like she said, the rest of your life. If you just make those, some of those internal shifts, it'll unfurl in ways that you can't even imagine. And so I think this would be a great experience for people who even have never had an energy healing before, in a very safe environment in which to do so.
Exactly, because
Hmm.
you'll be experiencing different things. So then you'll have a sense of like what you're more drawn to.
Yes,
And it's
I
just
love
an
that.
open exploration place to be in because um, there'll be so much support for you there. And curiosity is fully welcome too, because with curiosity is where you begin to expand more and heal too.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention you're going to be showing up in Seattle in the summertime, leading some meditations, right? And so, could you
Yeah.
mention the details of those events in case people want to
Yeah.
come to that as well?
Yeah, so I'm super grateful. I'm going to be with the Friends of the Seattle Waterfront for the second year. And it'll be from July to August every Wednesday from 7:30 to 8. I'm offering a free sound healing journey for the
Okay.
community. So we'll be out on the pier in downtown Seattle, and it's a really magical time. I really enjoyed it last year, and so I'm really excited to be back this year. So if you're curious about like what I do, that's like also a great way to um, meet me and experience a part of how I work with people's energy and support them as
Hmm.
well. The spirits and Mother Earth, and having so much honor and respect for the different lineages that I've learned from and teachers, I hold that really true to my heart. And I just give a lot of honor to Mother Earth. And I call like nature and all of like her animals like her children because they're just such a blessing to be around. And just I like connect with the angels and light source. And I guess I'm super open to however someone else connects. And I guess that's the way that I work. I don't say that the way that I connect is the only way. So if, someone out there they connect to um, the term universe instead of God, then I hold that space for that because I think that's really important too. And that's where that place of no judgment comes from,
Hmm.
to meet you where you're at, and to honor that too. And I think it's also a way where we all learn from each other different ways of
Hmm.
communicating and breaking away from the whole labeling certain things in a certain way, because it matters more about how it feels to you versus what
Yes.
someone else says to you. So that's another thing that I forgot to mention. I'm really big about always with every single session, individual or group, always telling people if something doesn't resonate with you, I just want you to like blow it out and really hold on to what resonates with you. Because we all interpret energy differently, we all interpret emotions differently, and the way that we raise can, have us explain an apple differently from each other. And I think it's important for someone to hold on to what resonates with them, because that'll help them to grow into the healer that they want to be in without having any expectations or rigidness to their exploration.
I love how I've never heard it described like that before, just the way you described like breathing in, breathing out, whatever you don't want to hold on to hang on to what resonates for you. I love that. Yeah. Gosh, I feel like, I can definitely see how you're going to have to come back on the podcast, because there's so much more that we can dive into. I'd love for people to hear even more about meditation and the different things that you do in your sessions. So thank you for spending some time with us today. My last question is always for people, what's your current I love it when for your world right now?
I love it when I'm outside with my dog, because it's funny. I was like, man, I learned a lot from my dog. He's just always so playful, and he's always able to quickly to like brush things off, never holds on to anything. And all he wants to do is just have fun. If I could throw the ball with him all the time, he would just love that. So I learned about love a lot from my dog. So I love it when I get to always hang out with him and be outside.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything. And for everybody that's listening, I'll put all of her links in the show notes so that you can easily find her website and go check out her work. And I highly recommend following her on Instagram as well, because you'll learn a lot just through the free content that you give out. So thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Mo, for having me on here and giving me a portal to share and to be in connection with you.